Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RashInvestor.com's weekend fun show. This is our Broiler Chicken Show. Buck, buck, buck. Um, a little bit sort of out of it a little bit here this weekend, but did notice this is the one thing I do like about TRI is the site's gotten to the point sort of out of it a little bit where it's got enough of sort of internal inertia. And when I pop back into the site, I see people in the lounge are just talking best practices. So it's it's kind of it's a good place TRI's gotten to. I think we've got a pretty robust community, and we're all working together to try and make each other a little bit wiser, a little bit smarter in the market. I think I've said publicly that I kind of like to do these weekend shows as a dovetail for the level 1 class program that just finished about 15-20 minutes ago. So by all means, if there's anybody who has questions from the level 1 program, I think we have a document that we put together that Kevin and Joshua maintain. Just in case you have any questions, you think about it through class, just plunk it in there, and then I can come back and address those. Kevin says you threw the document in the level 1 classroom. Cool. Thank you, sir. So actually, it was kind of interesting. I saw that. I suppose we're supposed to post the YouTube video page. I always forget to do that. Sorry, everyone. We'll see what happens if I post that in there. Boom. There you go. Buck, buck, buck. Merry Christmas, Colleen. Hey, there's Rocker. Everybody get your Rocker salute going. Start your day. I think that's a good... that's brutal. Sharky. You better not have superimposed my face on that. Oh, good. That's somebody else. That's awful. So Rocker, it's probably not a bad way to start off. In fact, actually, this is kind of an interesting product. Julian, bless his heart, such a sweetie, Boeing engineer, electrical engineer kind of guy. I mean, I worked in the stock brokerage business for a very long time, so I understand what the old sort of sales sort of angle is. We used to all have to read that famous book. What the hell was it? How to Win Friends and Influence People. And then there was a famous sales book that we used to always pass around that was really famous in the Depression. I can't remember what the hell it is. Anyway, so it's adorable. And of course, Sjord, our other TIRA principal, is like Mr. Computer Man and Computer Programmer Genius. So we haven't really done too much marketing at TRI over the past few years. It's just been sort of word of mouth, and we do fun shows with sites like Coinigy and stuff in the past. And I do these weekend shows and the daily sort of offerings on YouTube. But that's about it. So, hi, ma'am, you're over there today, are you? All right. Well, you can be our YouTube cheerleader, Colleen. But one of our site OGs who's been around the site for quite a while, he is a marketing expert, and we sort of brought him on in the spring. And I thought he did an excellent campaign just on very short notice, and people who participated in that, way to go, congratulations. I think you probably got a pretty good deal. But we want to brainstorm just, other ideas that, might actually be of value. And it was really cool talking with him yesterday. And I actually really like the idea. We have a room on TRI that two guys who went over to my old prop firm and are funded with them, and they just trade away. And I actually really like the idea. We might work on it a bit more, sort of like a prop trader boot camp. Because our level threeers, we sort of give them a kick in the butt right out of the gate and say, all right, well, if you really want to be a pro at this, you better get off your ass and get to work. So I'm already starting to see, look at all you guys are like, hey, that's a cool idea. Yeah, that's a cool idea. So this is the great part about TRI is really the sky is the limit. I mean, there's, when even the breadth data itself, when this thing is actually performing, it is such a fantastic little tool to help you time getting in and out of the stock market, whether it be, those people that like to follow sector rotation modeling and just being in the position of the highest, strongest performing stocks, whether it be using the sentiment indicators to help you understand market breadth. And then, of course, the real sort of genius behind all of this, the screeners spitting out signals on a daily basis. Whether it be the class program. I have to say, I'm just so impressed with the students and the platforms. I would ideally like to move this entirely to TRI. We use an outside source right now for the level 1s and the level 2s, but we do have the level 3 program on the site. So it's just sort of humming away. That's probably not a very good image of it. This is what I teach off of on the site for the level 3ers. There's our classroom. So, super pleased at the breadth of TRI going forward too. And, you people on YouTube, I think you have to understand that a part of these videos is going to be a sales pitch of, what are the awesome, services that TRI provides. I think that's sort of if anything, I think that's my soft sales pitch, right? So watch the video, try and learn something, free talk and stuff, but understand I am going to be subtly encouraging you to come on over to the site to whether use the tools that I'll demonstrate through these videos, or join our education program to set yourself up to run a small business of trading effectively. What's so cool is, like I said, if we don't have too many follow-up questions, what was the topic this week for level 1ers? Are they on intro to technical analysis now? Is that what you guys did? Are we on to risk management? Where are we? So, it's not that interesting. So, I guess long and short of it, finding M's and W's and heads and shoulders and triangles and price doesn't need too much further explanation. I did see somebody asking about intermarket analysis relationship in the bond market. I had so many people ask about that I actually did put together some videos. What is a bond? Believe it or not, a lot of people that come to TRI don't understand the difference between a stock and a bond, and that's all right. So, things like what is a bond and how do they work and how does the pricing mechanism of bonds work? And then, how can we use something like the yield curve to tell us about the potential for recession? And once again, this goddamn yield curve went inverted last summer, and all of the yield curve guys were going, it went inverted. There's going to be a recession within a year or so. It's coming. And sure enough, here we are. It's almost, it's almost cliche how cliche this shit is. Anyway, really good example, and also too for you level 1ers doing intermarket analysis relationships. Also a good video in the library of understanding bond spreads and things like the TIPS versus TLT spreads. So there was that. I did think I saw somebody ask about the contango and backwardization of the ES. So I'm not quite sure about that. Zach, I see your messages here. Can you just maybe remind me after I'm done this? I appreciate you sending messages. I'm just sort of going through, just seeing if there are any requests here. I think I saw Zach, you're in the call here, aren't you? That's why I'm talking to you. Yeah, there you are. I see you. So yeah, I'll take a look at that if you don't mind afterward. Oh, and by the way, level 3ers, you guys get a special treat this term, you lucky SOBs. Um, Not only did you get Steven yesterday, which I thought was totally awesome, and I thought he did a great job, but you're going to get a presentation from Raf on Wednesday. So you guys are getting double dose of TRIOGs on the harmonics this term. So you're kind of lucky. I sure hope we have enough time to hit all the Q&A as well, because I love listening to TRIOGers talking harmonics, and these guys, they love trading harmonics. So that was super encouraging. Like I said, I'm just so pleased to see the way this site is building out and the community that we're building. It just makes me so happy. I have to say, really working hard to make a positive difference in this world. I do like to talk to you guys a little bit about just sort of, what I'm talking about on Twitter, just to try and put things into context. The problem, specifically, you're like, okay, when are you going to get into crypto and charts and stuff? And the problem I have with crypto and Bitcoin in particular, of course, is where the hell's the screen? Too many screens, man, it's going to blow up. Oh, I got David Letterman on here. I was watching Pee Wee Herman. Pity the food, don't eat my cereal. What did I want to show you? There's those charts. Chart and charts. I've been putting out these fun little tweets recently. Where the hell is it? It's a fun picture. There we go. So, I know you guys want me to talk, price action and stuff, but the problem here is that I think we're at a kind of a difficult inflection point for Bitcoin. So I know you would like me to be going, hey, go long, go short, go long, go short. But geez, it's really just chop Vegas in here, and I got a funny feeling it's going to be like this for the next little while. I do like the idea, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I do like the idea that interestingly enough, and actually, it's interesting. Like subconsciously, I felt really good about it, but. We used to have a gentleman on the site who was a really big fan of OKCoin, and so I kept some capital on there. Just, I'm Canadian, so I'm allowed to. Today I officially moved all of my Bitcoin off of OKCoin and put it over on Deribit. Now I get to go play in the options market, which of course is, we've got a fun little group of locals here in Vancouver. And we did really well on the options there through the spring. So I'm like, screw it, man. I want to do this myself too. So I'm actually super excited about getting trading on options on Deribit. But the problem that you guys, I see, for the crypto universe and the crypto community is I'm really liking put options right now. I'm sorry. Which, of course, isn't exactly what crypto bulls want to hear. In fact, actually, I think I even have I posted in the lounge this morning, the option that I'm most interested in. It looks like it's a cute little short-term trade. I don't know how long-lasting it's going to be. But this is everything that I do about, M's and W's and 50% rules. And the cool part about it is you can see it in the options market. So you can see the cute little W that's trying to come in. This is the, what is this? A September 7,000 put. And I mean, you can see the trading range. It wouldn't shock me one bit if this option traded back up into this trading range here. So, and that's a put option. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo, boo, unfortunately, that's sort of what I'm thinking right now, which is not very politically correct. But that's the puts have my attention right now. Interestingly enough, if this actually does this bow tie kind of thing, what I'm sort of thinking is this is the uptrend line off about a month or so ago. off of this resolution. Remember the whole stock market, everybody all resolved bullishly right on that event there. So I think that's probably a pretty important line for us to keep in mind. And you can see how the market just oscillated around there, right? Right back to it and then slipped below it. And then conversely, a line just off of these peaks here. Could you adjust that off of that peak? I suppose. It's not the end of the world, but just eyeballing it, you can see there's obviously a lot of interest in this level. So, I kind of think for the next little while, we're probably just going to be sort of gyrating in all of this area. I don't know whether we can get back up into this wick. The ideal sort of short trade location is that candle body high right up in there. Markets will do what the markets do. Just in the short term, we have, this is going down to lower time frames now. I actually think that there was a relatively well-defined bearish failure here at about 95.50, 95.60 or so. This dump, of course, comes in through the New York kill zone. So to a certain degree, you have to ask yourself, is this sort of, they paint the market to look really bearish and ugly as the kids in North America are waking up and they're just sort of, what do you call that, getting the sleep out of their eyes and, oh my God, it's a big M, and that beamish guy says M's are ugly, so I better sell, get me out. And they get filled down here, right? Panic! And then the next, 6 to 8 hours, the market spends working its way back up. I mean, that's pretty cliche. At the same time, too, though, we have to respect the fact that this is very M-y. It's not W-y. And anybody who did take this bot short, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, it's there. It's working. Also, too, interesting how this bot objective is nothing more than just a test of this previous high. I suppose when I look at a chart like this, I think I had said in recent sort of public videos that I think that your trading range is this big sort of gyration event. And like I said there just a moment ago, ideal short trade location, candle body highs. You probably do reload zones, probably up in that area, that kind of talk. I suppose one could argue that into this tail here, candle body lows, all those key lows, like I said, through New York kill zone, get the kids to freak out, panic dump, first thing waking up. And then they just slowly back it up here. It's par for the course. The way that I like to interpret trend lines and what I suggest to public is this actually isn't really a very good place to short. You really ought to see the market lose the trend line and then give us some sort of market structure to actually set up a trade there. So it makes sense that selling into that dump there is probably not the smartest idea. Having said that too, though, this is lower time frame stuff. People that are just sort of I really don't want to have to deal with the stress of this. We're not really going anywhere. If you just strapped on your short hedges up against this level and said, look, I'll take my shorts off if we can close up in sort of this 10,500 area solidly, and really I would say if we can break through that little FU peak rally high, then we're probably okay. But for the time being, what I see here is I think this thing's just going to go sideways. And what's really interesting, we've had some new site members come on the site recently, and one gentleman who likes to follow Venus orbits and retrogrades and stuff, he was posting some charts earlier today that seemed to align with some sort of transition event here. What I found interesting is months ago, I put together, and I'm just sort of scrolling through the lounge here, looking for historical pieces that I've talked about to mention to you. Where is that one? It's around here somewhere. I think it's over here. Yeah. So I kind of noticed that there was like a bit of a, and I don't know, I suppose I could do this back over time as well, but I just sort of did it for this, and I kind of noticed, seems to be about like I don't know, what is this, 80 some odd bars as a daily chart, so it's a little less than 3 months. From sort of like a trough to a peak, and then, if I just sort of measured peak to peak to peak, I was seeing a very similar behavioral pattern here. So, interestingly enough, it's actually very symmetrical. So, peak to peak to peak to hello. Is that a peak right there? Yeah, it's a tough one. Also, too, like trough to peak, trough, and that was off of this sort of reactionary trough low there, to peak, trough, to peak. Uh-oh, don't like that. So, oh boy, this looks a little bothersome. And I guess what I'm really worried about here, and I don't really like this, is, this is, let me rephrase that. This is for the, I'm a rip-roaring bull and we're going moon. Those people. When I look at this, to me, this really looks like a big honkin' fractal. And I've put tweets out to this effect. Of course, half the time when I put messages out, they're not really well received. But shoulder, neckline, head, neckline. It just seems logical to me that we need to come down into here somewhere. So, I don't know how this is going to play out. Does anybody know? Not really. This is a really, really awkward, ugly place. And then I thought it was fascinating that, like I said, we have a gentleman on the site who's super into Venus orbital patterns, and he has a really cool study of Venus going from retrograde and then out. I thought maybe I saw that chart in the lounge earlier today. I thought I saw it. Oh boy, look at all this craziness. I don't know whether this is the chart or not, but this is the kind of crazies we do at TRI. So this gentleman's affectionately named Krispy Kreme at TRI, so way to go, sir. I think that it's like this kind of thinking here. So, and it's interesting that he did this celestial kind of event here, looking for a pullback through this Venus retrograde, because I really like the idea that Bitcoin likes. We do have another big sort of celestial event coming up here, July 1st, end of June, beginning of July. And I've sort of postulated also too that would align nicely with some sort of pivot top here if we came down over this period. But I think, where's that chart? So many charts here, this one. I do like the idea of the market trying to find some sort of pivot. But interestingly enough, you can even see that we're kind of running out of time on this. So, there is that, Jupiter's, I think this one is a Jupiter-Pluto-Earth conjunct. The end of June, beginning of July there. If this had followed that same pattern, we should have actually gotten our dump here in Bitcoin relatively now. So I don't know. That'll be interesting to see how this plays out, whether there's any similarity here or not. But I do like some sort of trough to come in here. Also, too, if we look at the profile, you can clearly see there is a ton of unfinished business right through all of this. So somebody was asking in the lounge earlier today, I like to come up with funny little words to describe all of these things. There's Hogue, right? There's Mountain Man, right? Colin's buddies, there's Mountain Man. Funny little expressions to help you remember it. So, when we see a profile like this, and of course the ladies always love when I do this, Is there any part of the male anatomy, we'll do it for the ladies here today, that if they see like really crisp, and the guy's like flexing, and you can even see this part of his pectoral is pulsing, and then that always drives the girls crazy, right? And then he, Arnie. Remember the classic, Arnold Schwarzenegger's. What do you call that? The Arnold. We'll call it the Arnold from now on. Because the ladies would always, accuse me of being misogynistic if I did, oh, look at this, and is there any part of the female anatomy that we like? All right. So we can turn it around. I mean, we can make this a man. And all you ladies, just calm down. Just relax. Don't get too excited. Anyway. No, I'm just being stupid. Anyway. So, if you think of sort of the chest analogy and the cleavage, right? So, the word in Spanish for kiss, and it's like a cheeky sort of slang word, is muak. And that's what we call this on the site, is we call it the muak. So anyway, we had one gentleman, the original site member, years and years and years ago, who was from, actually he was living down in Venezuela. Jeez, I wonder how all that went. I haven't heard from him in years. But anyway, he was the one who told us that muak stands for kiss in Spanish. So, point of the matter here is there's a bit of unfinished business in the profile here. So, Mr. Krispy Kreme's analysis suggests there's some sort of, Venus retrograde push event here into the end of June. I like the idea of the Jupiter-Saturn-Pluto conjunct as sort of a big moving event. I do believe that this was all healthcare and economy a bit vulnerable because it was very overextended to the upside anyway. And I'm feeling like this event here is all about social disorder, anger of the populace being locked up for a couple months, not being able to express their feelings and their frustrations and their anxieties. And they were given a conduit to release that anxiety through the form of this poor gentleman in Minnesota, and all hell broke loose. But I definitely think this all has to do with this Jupiter-Saturn-Pluto conjunct. And I've said this repeatedly. I mean, this is this is an event that has not happened in human history for something like a million years. This does not happen every day. And you look out into the world and you try and make head or tail of what the fuck is going on, and this is the only way that I can explain it. Nothing else makes any sense. It's like there's a whole bunch of energy is all coiled up and it's being released. It's quite remarkable, really. And as I said, what I found fascinating was this event right here was, in my opinion, was the apex of this cycle's event. That mark right there, where quite literally, if the powers that be, if the fates had said that's the way it's going to be, I believe the United States of America could have very easily slipped into a military coup style dictatorship. And something stopped there. And it was remarkable. Sadly, what I see also happening is I see that this is an ebb and flow. But that's just one event, Cole. It turns out that there's like 7 different events all happening here. Cole says, well, it's not a million years, Brian. It turns out there was one that happened in 1894. But what I would like you to do is look at the context of the whole year and all of these events all happening in this one year. It's like I said, the astrologers, they go back and they can't count when this actually did happen. They can't even go back that far. The astrologer girl I was listening to, she's like, this is once in a million. It's just, it never happens. So, and the irony of it all is, of course, we're all silly, we're just little humans on this third rock from the sun. We're trying to make head or tail of what's going on in our universe, even in our solar system. And, sometimes it's just completely beyond our comprehension. I can tell you, very, very calmly, very succinctly, I remember lots and lots of years where basically nothing happened. And it was very boring, and it was very, business as usual. Anyway, the point of the matter here is we're in a very high anxiety event window. And it's tough. My advice to the public, 30 years playing this game, maybe we don't make our Lambos this year. Sometimes it's actually just in your best interest just to play really good defense. But I'm also worried too right now, especially if we think about things like stock market. And ultimately, I think Bitcoin is very similar to stock market. Like I said earlier, I actually like the idea of thinking about puts now. Because you can see this has basically been one directional. At some point we will roll over and do our normal healthy corrections. It's just, it's normal. It's natural. It's just not today. The only problem that I have is that, we're starting to run out of inertia here. We're starting to run, we haven't broken these trend lines. And as I sort of said, bow tie theory, I'm not really looking for Bitcoin to crap out here. But I could see, let's say by maybe next week's broadcast, we're probably going to start seeing more and more anecdotal evidence of a correction. And then also, too, remember, keep in the back of your mind, actually two images. The first image I want you to keep in the back of your mind is, where the heck is it? This image. Ironically enough, last week, this head fake, everything was set up. Okay, let's rock and roll. Just close it up here. All right, away we go. Tick up through the new high, right? Show me a new high, show you a buy, and then just it stopped. And what's really weird is we basically just went right back into this price pattern. I've seen that happen. It's not like it hasn't happened. And I think, as I said last week, I would still say the same thing. You'll know that Bitcoin's a bull. And I would even say, those people that are hedging, probably a good idea to maybe take hedges off if you start seeing, the corn start closing above, what is that? About 10,500 or so. Show me a new high and I'll show you a buy. And if we actually lose this tail low, then I think that basically, number one, it's going to make an AB equals CD, which will take price down into here. But it will also sort of demonstrate that there's too many sellers up here. There's just too much supply, and there's just not enough demand. Also, too, this was the fundamental event window. I haven't even really heard any kind of conversation on the other side of this event of what the fundamental driver for Bitcoin is going forward. And what I'm worried about here is that really all this is just this big move. It's sort of momentum being dissipated. And if I look at, sort of like we like to keep these kind of charts on the screen, you can see that, already momentum was already toppy. So it's not really like you can say the backdrop for momentum is super bullish. If anything, the backdrop for momentum is, hey, we got to start seeing some W's. Do something here. And if we start looking at, things like momentum price oscillators, we're just putting in new M's here now in these price oscillators. That's not generally a good sign. If anything, the one good thing that's not happening here is we're not seeing like sellers really ramping up. But I've kind of noticed of late that crypto's really more almost now it feels like a Monday to Friday story, not a weekend story anymore. Which is probably a commentary on who's sort of driving the bus on this thing now. One thing that I thought was going to sort of help the crypto market along here was I did see quite a bit of sort of uppy in the alts, and if we kept seeing money flowing into the space, then I think, it just would have been like path of least resistance. If capital is coming in, then the likelihood of a serious correction is abated. But this is kind of like I remember 2 weeks ago we were like, okay, they're all sitting there ready to go. They just need to see some buyers show up. And then last week we were kind of like, well, we were waiting for the buyers to show up, and the buyers just not showing up. I do see that there isn't a lot of oomph in these attempted rallies. I certainly don't think that the majority of these altcoins are really shorts, because they're in terrible trade location to think about shorting. Like for instance, I put out a tweet, and on the site we were kind of talking about this, that this is kind of the market state that I think we're in here now. Is here's a really boring shit coin, right? Where basically over the past 6-8 months the thing has done nothing, and would it really been that good of an idea to step in and be shorting and trying to make money on the downside? I mean, I suppose it worked, but one sneeze and all hell could break loose to the upside on these. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is the market state for a lot of these altcoins. And even before, and I put tweets out to this effect saying, look, you want to make your Lambos, right? This is the kind of chart that you have to see that's going to be buying you your Lambos. They have to look like this. And when we're in this channel, you have to be accumulating. And then when this damn thing starts going apeshit parabolic to the upside, you have to start paying yourself. And of course, you have to not be buying when it's going apeshit, right? You actually have to force yourself to be accumulating down in here. Nice little tells. Obviously, you guys have heard me talk about weekly W's before. Everybody should look at this and go, wow, that looks like a W within a W within a W. Which is fine. You get more W's inside W's. It's totally awesome. And then the sort of key to this is the W sort of confirms, it's breaking out through the top here on volume, i.e. the buyers are buying. If the buyers actually step up and start buying, when the chart looks like this, all hell can break loose to the upside. So, my suggestion to the public is take the opportunity now while everybody's thinking about COVID and thinking about, no offense, right? We're here as traders. We're here to make money from trading. I mean, I don't want to belittle, the people that are sick from these illnesses. I certainly don't want to belittle any racial concerns or social injustice concerns. But this is capitalism, and you're here not really to listen to Brian's political rants. You're here to listen to him about trading. And if anything, what I would like for you to understand coming out of this is, if you see bearish price action in crypto, do you think it's actually related to crypto? Or do you think it's bearish price action that's related to something else? Social unrest, Fed, printing press, whatever. It's what I'm seeing here is now we're in the stage of these kind of markets, and especially the altcoin market's been in the pooper for the past couple of years. These things are not really trading off of how would I say this? If you see an altcoin price being pushed down against lows right now, it's probably not because the altcoin itself is considered overvalued. It's because of some other unrelated reason, or what we call systemic risk. And those are the kind of opportunities, right? Identify value in your idea, and then you actually want to use that systemic risk to help support buying at cheap prices. So, obviously you can't come in on the buy side on a name like this. Are there other names that are doing this? And I thought it was fascinating. Some guy even replied to me, and he's like, yep, I can see this shit happening. Polar Bear, whoever you are. Nice pick. I showed this in the lounge, and people were like, actually, I don't know whether that's the one. Is that it? This one. QKC. And I've told you guys before, anybody who watches these videos, I'm not going to tout myself as a crypto expert, and you all know that. I mean, that's not my forte. But when an old gnarly trader dude looks at a chart like this, is it worth throwing a buck or two at something like this? Is it possible for me to, glean $2, $3, $4, $5 out of that buck that I throw at a name like this? I mean, hopefully you all look at this and, I always like to do this exercise because it's kind of fun. Actually, here's another one, right? So that's QKC. Do your own due diligence. Maybe PM Polar Bear here and harass the shit out of them, right? We are doomed. So, I mean, I don't know what it is, but you have to understand, if a guy like me looks at a chart like this, number one, I'm not going to short something like that. And gee whiz, you probably ought to do yourself a favor and go pick some up. But I'm not touting it. I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm not giving you financial advice. You should, all you guys who are watching, there's like 70 people over there on YouTube. I mean, you should look at that chart, and you should understand exactly what my thinking is there. And there was another one here this morning. Look at that. Sharktoshi. And this is the great part about... all right, great. That's Zishan Raz. There's a name. Raz, or is it Raze? Raz. Anyway. All right. Well, so you guys over there on YouTube are having fun. Here's Peter Arnold here in the lounge. Yeah, free position on this LRC. A loop ring. Again, what I said there sort of earlier, and, like I said, Sharktoshi mentioned this to me, is, especially if I I don't know how to do this because I think I have all the other indicators on here too. Yeah. We look down at our, Sharktoshi drool is right. I mean, look at that volume. Look what price is doing. I mean, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen in the future, but I got to tell you, as a risk taker, a guy who is in the market trying to buy something low and ideally wanting to try and sell higher, what do you think? Is that a place where if I throw a buck at it, got a pretty good chance of maybe seeing that dollar turn into $2, maybe $3, maybe $4. I think it's doable. So I do like that there are little sort of glimmers of sunshine here. That's encouraging. Same sort of thing as we said there a moment ago. It's probably not a good idea to chase. You have to be patient and disciplined. You could have been sucked into chasing here. You could have said, well, Brian, you really like buying against low ends or ranges. So, maybe even if it was the little old lady, Nanny Nibbles, right? You see the original bottom and you just throw your bid in here. Well, that's fine. Anywhere in here is just better than chasing. Don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. I might say the same thing here, so we can do the same logic. Boobity-boo. Boobity-boo. So all you market timers, hopefully you can see the W's down in here. Basically, this is what we call the POC, or the point of control. But I can see a nice... Colleen, you still over there on YouTube? Can you see your value high level here as a trade location? And I could easily see it coming slamming into the value high and then bouncing off. Hey, you're over here now. Hey, sweetie. So can you see that value high sort of trade setup potentially developing there? So point of the matter here is that, number one, I think it's super, super important for us to think about this higher time frame image. Now, this is not the BitConnect world. Any people on YouTube watching, do any of you remember BitConnect? This isn't that world anymore. The cool part about it is when you do start seeing the BitConnect kind of stories, that's actually your cue to start thinking about, okay, it's time to start taking some money out of this space. But I don't think we're in that BitConnect kind of world right now. Quark. Are you related to Gavark? Quark? Anyway, so, higher time frame, please hear the message, the writing on the walls. And what I would say is that if you do see weakness in the broader market, weakness in the stock market, weakness in the bond market, I think those pullbacks, and if you can get the opportunity that these things come back down, that's exactly that's my bread and butter. That's just everything that I live and breathe and do. And it's weird, interestingly enough, as we work through our year of 2020 here, sadly too, from society, do you guys, and this would be an interesting poll question. Actually, let's do this as an experiment. So, how happy are you your lives right now? From a scale of 1 to 10. Just be honest, right? 10 being, oh, I'm absolutely ecstatic. It's so happy-go-lucky. And being 0, it's the end of the world. I'm dying. Where are you feeling? Like, I get the impression 5. All right, so there's some 5s. 8? Seriously, Zach? With what's going on with the farm, are you honestly going to tell me 8? Seriously? All right, well, that's not bad. Will's in New York City, 4. All right, well, actually, I'm actually Annie. Oh, you cocksucker! Hey, Annie, we're hearing a lot of people asking for a Spanish-speaking room on the site. So actually, I volunteered you to be the quarterback there. I don't know whether you're aware of that. you poke your head over here on TRI one time in 2 or 3 years. I'm sinking my claws in as hard as I can. I miss you, bud. Anyway, that's interesting. Any big. We all want to be any big. That's interesting survey questions. I'm actually a bit surprised that you guys are as positive as you are. So if anything, that worries me. I was kind of hoping all you guys would be like 1s and 2s and, sort of like that. Because then I would know that the market's washed out. The fact that you guys are still relatively optimistic, that kind of worries me. It's not that bad. Good for you. Anyway, PMA for the win. That's good. That's good in itself, right? So glad to see you guys are pretty stoked. And, of course, we got the obligatory +10 now that I'm here at TRI. So I love those, of course. All right. Now I'm not quite sure where the hell I was going with all. Oh, yeah. So... and you know what I think it's going to be? I think that we've actually established the message now for the next 10 years. I believe we are at the precipice of a massive growth window. And I could not possibly be more bullish of growth. Which is so ironic, right? Because when you look out in the world, nobody's talking about growth. Nobody's talking about good times. Nobody's talking about optimism. And yet that's the irony of it all, is that and this was, you don't know. Because I remember coming, the last time we were in a growth environment, I remember closing the window on the growth environment, and it really sucked. And it was in 1999 and 2000. In fact, I remember specifically the top was Y2K. The actual top up, the market itself was in March of 2000, and that was the end of growth. And literally, we have spent the past 20 years no growthing. So I don't even think most of you guys even know what a growth world looks like. And it makes perfect sense, right? You look out your window, you see all the protesting, you see how miserable people are, you see that, the income inequality, healthcare concerns, social unrest, political craziness. It's actually the perfect scenario to set a base. And that will be my marketing campaign for the next 15 years. So it's ironic. And the worst part about it is I was a commodities bull, of course, through that whole 17.5 year cycle, and it was a pain in the ass. And I positioned myself to take advantage of the commodity cycle in a way that I thought was most appropriate, and I kicked ass. I mean, I came in here, I said I was going to go make 6 figures from nothing, and I did exactly what I said I was going to do, and I was very, very proud of that. So if you believe that Brian put his money where his mouth is and took basically no money at all and turned it into 6 figures, I'm telling you right now, we do exactly the same thing the next 10, 15 years, but in the growth spectrum. Usually this sort of orgy windows for every cycle are years that end in 3s and 4s and years that end in 6s and 7s. That seems to be what I found cycle in, cycle out. Every once in a while, and I suppose into the end of the cycle, you get sort of big blow-offs. But interestingly enough, actually, long-term capital management blew up there at the end of 98. So that was, a lot of people blame that, and that, of course, was on the Russian default. And then, the tech market went into its orgy there into 99. So that was a bit delayed. But the crypto cycle here I thought was actually a really good representation of the fear cycle. I mean, maybe gold can get up to like 5, 10 G's. I find it very hard to believe that gold will be able to break Bitcoin's highs. But we'll see what happens. Keep in mind, too, what I'm really worried about right now is we're almost getting lulled into a false sense of security about the markets. And kind of like what I was saying there about Bitcoin. I like the idea for something like a Bitcoin to actually come back down and do that big head and shoulders. And in a weird sort of way, I still actually believe Bitcoin to a certain degree is leading the market. So, what did I want to show you guys? Where is that? Over here. That big head and shoulders formation. Question is where the hell they put it. I suppose you can see it here. I mean, I actually like the fact that did we go and take out this high? 10,500, 10,000. No, we didn't. That kind of sucks. I would have preferred we actually took that level out, but there's that head and shoulders. And, the way that we're sort of approaching it at TRI is if, this pullback into here, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, just keep buying. Not really, I certainly don't want to pound the table. Like I said, in the short term, I'm actually thinking put options. But this dip down into here, buy it. If I can buy it. And, I might even suggest, because Bitcoin, it loves to do this shit, right? I might even suggest that you just throw in some stinky bids. And if they get filled, awesome. If they don't, well, no big deal. They're just bids. They're just sitting there. But any kind of weakness over the next 4 or 5 months, really next 6 months, buy it. Buy what? Buy it. Question mark. Buy it. Buy it. Okay, Brian, shut the fuck up. I love that thinking. And we have one of our site members is just fucking killing it in the stock market trading inverted head and shoulders. And, I drew this a minute ago, right? He would be like, well, I would really expect us to come right down into here, and here is where I'm going to go apeshit crazy hunting longs. And I like that idea. That to me resonates really well. Some routine about 7 and 8,000. We'll see how that goes. Only time will tell. Just looking at this image, if we just throw on good old reload zones and 50% rules and stuff. Let's see what we get there. Alright, so reload zone goes from 6,300 down to 5,257. Buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it. It's weird though. The other day, I saw, I've been talking about this chart. And it's interesting because somebody posted a chart on Coinbase, and they said that the Coinbase one had not broken out yet. But that looks to me like a pretty darn clean breakout. But, if we believe this chart, remember, you see how wild this price action is here? Don't be surprised if we have some sort of nutso dips against this, and the market just sort of like goes, that wouldn't surprise me at all. And then our rule, right, you can clearly see there are no W's yet here, right? We went up through it, and we're choppy. Oh, Jesus Christ, now we're starting to look very Emmy. And, best case scenario would be we just ride this trend line. But, when was the last time you saw Bitcoin act nice and happy and calm and quiet? My hunch, for whatever it's worth, is it's something like that. So we'll see how it goes. And you can see the kind of Emmy action. We were thinking uppy. Things are looking good there. But as soon as we start seeing Emmys, then that's sort of like, oh boy. As I had sort of noted before, though, the correction right now, so far it's not really painful because the bears really haven't stepped up in earnest. When they come back tonight, and remember I've done this before, right? I'll go off and I'll be with Liam this afternoon. I'll come back after the market is opened up for, the Forex market and all that. We might see some fireworks here. But point of the matter here, just in the short term, is good to see. Bears are not really that active right now. And if anything, we would prefer, if you're a bull, we would prefer that the bears just stay asleep. Don't wake up, bears. Just stay asleep. All right, well, I think I've basically talked Bitcoin into the ground. Hopefully you guys have a pretty good idea of what I'm thinking here. If we do finish this sort of 2016 kind of analogy, I do like that. And like I said, Crispy landing on the sites looking for some sort of trough here around nearing the last month or last week of June. That ironically enough, that would actually be very textbook. The only thing untextbooky about this was the fuck you day. And how ironic that was right around Mr. Trump sort of losing it there. So, it is what it is. So typical. Looking at the other cryptocurrencies, I've been, especially something like Ethereum. I've been thinking uppy, and I've been talking on the site, in these daily videos and stuff about bullish bot setups working away. Interestingly enough, nothing's really changed here. Recently on sort of site commentary, I've been talking about diamond patterns up here. The problem with the diamond, of course, is that really this one candle here defines the entire range. So kind of like Bitcoin with those two bars, that one bar at the top of the range clearly is about $250. And the bottom end of the range is about 220, somewhere in there. So, that's a pretty wild playground. If Bitcoin dumps here like $500,000, could Ethereum dump against these lows and nothing really would have changed here? Yeah, that's totally fine. Very business as usual. Also, too, there's a fractal boom, boom, boom. So the loss of this low here is a sell signal into itself. It's a sloppy one, though, so not really that pretty. And actually, Bitcoin also put in that same fractal fail. You can sort of see it here. Oh, that's Ethereum. Yeah, there it is. And, Julian and I earlier today were sort of talking about this. This fractal fail on Bitcoin is there. That's the sell signal right there. So you could say that Stamp here failed at, what's that level? 95, 92, 74. There's a magic number. So ideally, if you're a bull, you really would like to see the market hold that level, and you can see it's having a hard time right now. So, and that, what this image here is that's the bot, right? That's oh, where'd it go? Well, it's around here somewhere. Was it? Oh, I hate when I do this. Sorry, everybody. I had it on the screen just a moment ago. What did I do with it? Oh, here it is. So that's this setup. So that inside bar fail level, right? So that's right up in there. And as we said, in the short term, we've run into some trendline support. And actually, if we want to see this actually continue on, we'd ideally like to see the market slide below here and then make structure below. So I don't really see a lot of signs of failure here in the short term. We're probably going to inside bar off of these lower time frames. Probably going to inside bar our way. I mean, who knows? We might just crap out. But inside bar our way back up into these liquidity pools up in here for the futures guys. So if you were thinking about, okay, well, what do I want to do here? Watch this trend line. If we lose it and then start structurally failing on the other side, then you know that the bear's in control. And I actually kind of like the ideas for this bot. I like a nice rally up. Maybe wash these highs. If you got an inside bar failure, maybe up in this area here, you could join that bot trade. And really, ironically enough, if we just get a nice little counter trend rally, you could step in on that. But I think it would probably be better to wait for some sort of candle signal showing you some sort of structure, because this thing might just churn its way straight up into here. So, the sky's not falling right now, so that's good. You can see the inside bars on the higher time frames. It is what it is. Nothing really, hugely, oh my God, you got to do this kind of signal. One thing that kind of bugged me and bothered me about sort of the health of this rally going forward is the way these spreads are acting. We've talked to you guys before about what are you supposed to think if you start seeing the spreads M out here. We're getting a lot of very M-y type action. I don't like the look of that. So that sort of supports the bear kind of thesis. Right, so just to finish off this little offering to the public, sure hope you got dig. Kevin, did we see any more follow-up questions from the level oneers that should be addressed? Hopefully everybody's happy. 6 in UK, all right. All right. No? All right, cool. All right, well, let's wind this up then. As I said, if you're trading these alts, watch the Ethereum's got pretty wide range right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see quite a bit of volatility in there over the next 24 hours. Inside bars firing, that kind of stuff. But no actual breakdown. Some of the other alts that we've been sort of following, you can see this NEO. It's a tough one, The candle top is all the way up top there. The bottom's all the way down here. You notice they brought it right down against that low here first thing this morning, but didn't break it. So it almost seems to me like structure-wise, maybe you hopped off on that inside bar fail there. But I wouldn't be surprised if this one bar actually defines our whole range there. So what is that? That just says 1125.50. If that's lost, I would probably say this thing's toast. But a little bit of a gain, nothing to sneeze at. Like I said, Ethereum's still working away. It stopped to scratch level just hit, so really, not really thinking about taking profits there yet. And little XLM, same thing, move stop to scratch, so you're basically just sitting there picking your nose. Not really a whole lot going on. But on all of these, had you taken the longs, you should not lose money if the market craps out here. As I said, individual stories, and I've said this repeatedly over the past 6-8 months, is clearly there's some sort of fundamental driver going on with this loop ring. I don't know what it is. And then also too, we showed you that other gentleman had that K quark or whatever the hell it was. So try and find what the fundamental drivers are. And for heaven's sakes, I mean, really get out there and start hunting these. And actually, this would be a good trivia question. What chart, going back to Brian's foray in the crypto market last cycle, what chart does this look like? Peter got it! No, library credits is too volatile. Excellent, Peter. Peter got the answer. Let's see if anybody over there on the YouTube page can answer the question. No, we said Joshua. Library credits is up and down. I mean, it was great. It was hugely volatile. But what's the name I'm looking for here? And I'll give you the hint over on YouTube. No OGers are allowed to answer the question over on YouTube. Let's just see if they can get it. I bought it at 2 sats. Yeah, your guess is always going to be library credits, and you got a pretty good shot at winning. That's good. Anyone? This chart looks exactly the same. If you can answer that question, then you know exactly what I'm thinking. Very good. All right, well, good. You guys are getting it. Jack, I see you got the answer there a couple times. Way to go, Slick. So they always say the longer the channel, the bigger the run. That's a pretty damn sick, narrow, sideways channel. All right, everybody. I hope you got some value out of that. Hopefully I gave you something to think about. It's a little bit tough time in the market right now, and obviously humanity itself going through a very challenging period. My advice to you, for whatever it's worth, guy, been on this planet for 50 years. You only have so much time on this planet. Try and be nice to yourself. The interesting thing is, hopefully you've seen from a guy like me that you can take like no money and turn it into very sizable amounts of money in very specific windows within every single economic cycle. Every cycle, going back the 1970s, it was all about oil. And even I remember then, like mainframe computing, and the move to the personal computer. 1980s, early 80s, it was biotech, and I see a lot of anecdotal evidence that biotech can make you fortunes here. Go buy some of those eyes warrants. Jesus, that thing looks ridiculous. Through the late 80s, tech really got going in earnest. A lot of sort of tech innovations. It was interesting in the early 90s. There was a bit of a pause, but actually that's when the emerging markets, bull markets, were crazy. Then, of course, the late 90s, it was the dot-com boom. Early 2000s, it was the commodity stocks, copper, oil. Latter part of 2000s, it was all about the U.S. housing market. And of course the financial stocks, actually more sort of like base metals. Obviously, early 2010s, your first sort of foray into crypto. Late 2010s, big blow off top in crypto. There's nothing really new going on here, everybody. It's just really you have to you have to know when to pick your fights. This is not the time of the cycle to pick those fights. This is the time of the cycle to get really good at trading like swing trading plans and day trading plans. And like I had sort of said there at the beginning, we're actually kind of thinking about getting like a I want to be a prop trader boot camp going up, and we have like prop traders on the site working away now. I think that there's actually a lot of money to be made in those kind of things. But this kind of name, it will do those crazy ass Verge kind of things. Like 2023. That to me seems completely realistic. So if you have a time horizon, it's 2020 now. I wouldn't be surprised, just like the crazy-ass Bitcoin rally into the end of 2013, we have a very similar type blow-off top into 2023. Wouldn't surprise me at all. So, you want to make money in the short term, I would be really concentrated on trading setups and getting really good at trading leverage products. And take advantage of the swings in the market. Are we going to be trending really hard here over 2020? No. But I like the idea of using 2020 to accumulate good positions to be selling into 2023. Really probably 2022. And the end of the bull will be like December 2023. And, all of you watching on YouTube, it shouldn't surprise you that a lot of these OGers are starting to trickle back into the space. Heard some people talking about that Crypto Cobain guy is starting to work his way back into crypto Twitter. We have a couple guys that were pretty big players last cycle. I made reference to one gentleman here just earlier today. The fact that he's starting to poke his head around here again, that should be smart. That should be a notice to you that, hey, if these guys are coming back, maybe I should be starting to accumulate this stuff. And I mean, gee whiz, a picture says 1,000 words. So there you go. All right, everybody, have yourselves a great rest of your day. Hang in there. PMA for the win. It's going to be a tough slog through the year, but, just remember what your number one job is. If you don't know what your number one job is, maybe we need to talk. But remember what your number one job is here. Go slowly. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to the people around you. And for the record, I was very impressed with the citizens of the United States of America standing up and deciding they wanted peace rather than war internally. I was very impressed with that. So, PMA, everybody, hang in there. All the best, and bye for now.